It was a gray, rainy morning when Emily Parker, a tired waitress working the early shift at a small roadside diner in Ohio, noticed him again, the frail old man sitting alone at the corner booth. His wrinkled hands trembled slightly as he lifted a chipped coffee mug, staring out the foggy window like he was waiting for someone who never came. His clothes were worn, his shoes scuffed, and his eyes, they carried the kind of sadness you only see in someone who has lived too long with loneliness. From that day on, Emily made it a point to bring him his breakfast before he even asked. What started as a simple act of kindness, a refill of coffee, a warm smile, a slice of apple pie, slowly became the quiet rhythm of two souls who somehow understood each other without needing to say much. But Emily never imagined that her daily gesture of compassion would soon turn her world upside down. When one morning, 4 men in dark suits and an expensive lawyer walked through the diner doors, asking for her by name. Before we dive deeper into this heartwarming yet mysterious journey, take a moment to hit like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness of Americans if you believe that small acts of kindness can change someone's entire life and that everyone deserves a second chance. Emily Parker was 26, a single mother struggling to keep her life stitched together after a series of heartbreaks and disappointments. Her mornings began before dawn, packing her 6-year-old son Jacob's lunch, dropping him off at a neighbor's before the school bus, and rushing to the diner where she worked 6 days a week. Her dream had always been to study nursing, but after her ex-husband left, dreams had to wait. Life had become a blur of bills, exhaustion, and prayers whispered over coffee cups. Yet, in that routine, she found unexpected comfort in the quiet companionship of the old man she came to know as Mr. Harold Bennett. He always arrived at 7:15 sharp, ordered the same thing: black coffee, scrambled eggs, toast, and a side of oatmeal, and left a crumpled $2 tip, even when he clearly didn't have much to give. Over time, Emily noticed details others didn't. The way he winced when he tried to lift his arm, how his left shoe sole was peeling, how he folded his napkin neatly after every meal like a habit from a disciplined past. She once offered him a free slice of pie on his birthday, and tears filled his eyes. He whispered, "No one's remembered that in years." From that day, their bond deepened. She'd pack him leftovers when she could, make sure his coffee stayed hot, and sometimes sneak an extra sandwich into a paper bag when she suspected he was skipping dinner. To the rest of the world, he was just another old man passing time at a diner. To Emily, he became family, the kind that chooses you when the world forgets you exist. But life, as it often does, was quietly setting up a twist that would shake everything she thought she knew. For weeks, Harold stopped coming. The corner booth stayed empty. Emily tried to brush off her worry, telling herself he might be visiting relatives or wasn't feeling well. Still, every morning she'd pour a cup of coffee and keep it warm, hoping he'd walk in with his gentle smile. Then on a cold Wednesday morning, just as she was refilling a customer's cup, the door opened, and in walked 4 tall men in black suits, followed by a sharply dressed lawyer holding a leather briefcase. Their presence turned heads instantly. The diner fell silent, the clinking of plates stopping mid-motion. "Is there an Emily Parker here?" the lawyer asked. His tone was firm, yet polite. Emily's heart began to race. The men looked intimidating, their faces unreadable, as if guarding something more valuable than gold. She nodded slowly, confused. "I'm Emily," she said, her voice trembling. The lawyer opened his briefcase, took out an envelope, and handed it to her. "Mr. Harold Bennett asked us to deliver this to you personally," he said, "and he wanted you to know. It's time you found out who he really was." The lawyer gave a small nod and the men stood quietly, watching her reaction. The entire diner seemed to hold its breath. Emily's hands shook as she tore open the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter, elegant, old-fashioned cursive inked on thick paper. Her eyes widened as she read the first line. "My dear Emily, by the time you read this, I may have taken my final walk among the living." Her knees almost gave out. Tears welled in her eyes as she continued reading. Harold explained that he had once been a wealthy businessman, the founder of a company that sold decades ago for millions. But after losing his wife and daughter in a tragic car accident, he'd given up everything. living the last years of his life alone, seeking peace in simple moments. When he met Emily, her kindness reminded him of the love he'd lost, the same compassion his daughter once showed strangers. He wrote, "You didn't know it, but your smile gave an old man a reason to live again. For that, I owe you more than words could ever repay." The lawyer cleared his throat softly and spoke again. "Mr. Bennett passed away 2 weeks ago. In his will, he left specific instructions regarding you." He pulled out another document, placing it gently on the table. Emily blinked through tears as he continued. "He's left you his house, his savings account, and a scholarship fund for your son. He wanted you to finish nursing school, and he wanted Jacob to never worry about his future." Emily's hand covered her mouth as sobs broke through. The diner manager and other customers stood frozen, some tearing up. The men in suits nodded respectfully. Harold had left everything, not to family, not to charities, but to the waitress who brought him coffee every morning without expecting anything in return. Over the following weeks, Emily's life transformed in ways she couldn't comprehend. She moved into Harold's modest yet beautiful countryside home, a place filled with old photographs, books, and notes that told the story of a man who once had everything and lost it all, only to find peace in kindness. She found a letter addressed to Jacob, too. It read, "Dear Jacob, your mother taught me what real strength looks like. Be proud of her because she changed my life." Emily kept that letter framed in her son's room as a reminder that goodness never goes unnoticed. Years passed, and Emily did exactly what Harold hoped she would. She went back to school, graduated as a nurse, and began working at a hospice center, caring for the elderly with a compassion few could match. People often asked what inspired her, and she always smiled, saying, "It started with a cup of coffee and a man who taught me that kindness can heal more than medicine ever will." Every year on Harold's birthday, she visited his grave with Jacob, leaving a single cup of black coffee on the headstone. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and share this video. And don't forget to subscribe to Kindness of Americans for more real stories that remind us how small acts of kindness can change entire lives. And before we end, a special request from Emily S. Story. Comment below. What is one small act of kindness you've done or received that you will never forget? Your story might just inspire someone else to do good today.